Welcome back to My Finance Partner viewers. Today's session will be covering budgeting and the importance of budgeting on your business. So there's obviously tons of reasons why you should create a budget in your business, but I'll take you through my top 4. So the first item is that it provides you with business intelligence and planning for your business. So what does that mean? It means in order to put a meaningful budget together, you actually have to understand the drivers of value within your business. It forces you to really deep dive into the nuts and bolts of what makes your revenue increase, what drives your costs on, and the like. It is an iterative process, so a lot of people don't like budgeting because they feel it's quite hard and it'll be a big investment and there's a very high risk that we might get something wrong. I would obviously argue that that's actually the value in budgeting, is that the very fact that you have to apply your mind, that you're probably going to make a few mistakes along the way, you are going to find a lot of useful info through that process, and obviously the next time around we do that, we're just going to get more and more accurate. Okay, another good reason to have a budget is that it provides a baseline from which you can check variations against. A lot of business owners say, well, I've got my bank balance, I'll just watch that and see how that's going, and that's all they do. Unfortunately, as we well know in business, your bank balance is never an accurate picture all the time of exactly how your business is going, and having a baseline to measure against becomes critically important. The second big thing it does for you is around risk and opportunity management. So what do I mean by that? When we're doing a budget, we have to look ahead for at least the financial year and possibly a year or two beyond that. And then what we're looking for is things that could cause variation to our plans. That in essence is what risk management is all about. What is out there that we already know of, or possibly things that we haven't thought of that could cause us not to reach our goals. And so that is generally the very first step in coming up with a risk mitigation strategy. The second big thing it does is we need to keep track of all the opportunities that we're working on as well. Now, a budget, in order to be useful, has to be fairly accurate, and that means it's got to always reflect our best guess, how we think things are going to pan out in the most likely scenario. Because of that, it's often useful to keep your opportunities register separate and assign some probabilities to that, but not always to include every single item on. And you also don't want to lose track of those things, so it's important that we document them and we know who's working on what to unlock the next big revenue stream. The third big thing it does for you is around resource allocation and management. So what do I mean by that? So let's, for example, say we're talking about a manufacturer here putting their budget together. So the start point typically in a budget process is to look at the sales and volume forecast. And if we've had some very attractive growth in the past few years and we're looking at that trend to continue, then one of the things that might pop up quite quickly when we're doing a budget is to find that we've got capacity constraints. In manufacturing, a cheaper alternative than going for capital investment, for example, might be to add a shift to production. That will come with its own set of costs in terms of overtime and other things. And all of these would need to be taken care of in terms of a budget. What it might reveal as well is that we've got no choice but to expand the plant, and in which case we're probably going to require funding. We're going to need to run feasibility analyses, and the like, and all of that has to be factored into a budget, especially when you consider that investment in new plant often involves some sort of a shutdown or slowdown or a build-up of stock to take care of the shutdown process while new plant is being commissioned. So in the absence of a budget, that would just be absolute chaos to manage. Similarly, if you were possibly in the services industry and depending on growth and opportunities, projects coming up and the like, we might have some staffing constraints, in which case we would need to go to the market and hire for those. Anybody that's ever done recruiting before will know full well we don't place an advert tomorrow and the next day we get someone through the system. So it's important for us to understand exactly when those challenges are going to bite us so that we can plan accordingly and have the right people in place by that time. The next major item to consider or benefit of having a budget is your planning and prioritization. So as entrepreneurs, we have two major constraints. One is our time, and the other is our capital. So there's a lot of research that's been done around capital allocation. We do know that the conventional wisdom is it's one of the big drivers of value in business. It can either add value very, very quickly or destroy value if we allocate capital poorly. And then the second thing, obviously, is our time is limited. We tend to be busy people, we have things going on. And so we need to look at both of those and understand in our world where our time and where our capital is best employed to give us the highest return. That's the only way to maximize wealth for an entrepreneur. And obviously, if you're going to be doing some sort of a ranking and understanding where to place our time, our effort, and our money, then we first need to actually have a budget or a forecast so that we know which of our projects are actually profitable or not. Thanks so much for joining. If you need any help creating budgets or just have questions around it, don't hesitate to get in touch with us.